It is time once more for a specific reading from A Different Kind of Power, the political memoir or the life memoir of the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. As we know, COVID has happened. Jacinda Ardern has built a Duplo Tower with Neve, her daughter. And now it is August in 2020 and she is on the campaign trail for the 2020 election. The worst of COVID seems to have passed. On 11th August, the first official day of campaigning, I made a series of stops in Whanganui, a town on the west coast of the North Island. I visited a public art gallery and businesses on the main street, stopping at a pharmacy to thank employees who'd worked through the worst part of COVID. A few customers were scattered around the store. As I stood near the counter at the back talking to one of the workers, it had been 100 days since we'd had any community transmission of COVID. When would the next case come? Someone handed me a heavy object. It was a gift for me. A clear tumbler, glass, hand-blown. On the interior base was a three-dimensional mountain that I did not immediately recognize. I'd been given a similar glass by the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe that featured Mount Fuji. Japan, I thought. One of the many countries where cases were rising fast. Standing there beneath the fluorescent lights, my mouth frozen in a smile, I turned the glass over in my hand, ran my fingers over the raised bottom. The part of me that was still present admired the handiwork, trying to guess which geography I was looking at. Could it be Mount Ruapehu? Too small. Maybe the Ruahine Ranges. I held it up to the light. The pharmacy worker had just spoken. I must not have heard him correctly because I could swear he said, nipple. I'm sorry, I said. It's a nipple, he repeated. It was crafted by the artist to bring attention to breast cancer. I am not making this up, by the way. This is really in the book. Oh, I was suddenly conscious of the seriousness of the subject, but also the way I was holding it. Is there a proper way to hold a nipple glass? I wondered. I'm not making it up. Bella, I'm seriously not. I'm reading straight from the book. It's beautiful, I said, and it really was. To this day, it has pride of place in my cabinet. But on that day, with the media nearby, cameras at the ready, I decided the best way to hold it would be carefully and in its box. Yes, you have to put the nipple in the box, don't you? Our polling was strong. So we just have the whole thing, the nipple, and then we're just on to the polling. Our polling was strong, so strong that even Whanganui, a city that voted for the National Party in the past 5 elections, looked as if it might possibly turn in our favour. I stepped out of the pharmacy and suddenly someone on an electric scooter swerved across the pavement and towards me. She stopped and introduced herself as Muriel. She was in her 80s, told me she would be breaking her 20-year voting drought to cast a vote for me because of the winter energy payment and our management of COVID. Not long after she had accelerated past me, another person grabbed my hand. A woman a little older than me wearing a tracksuit. She asked with a genuine concern about 5G. Wild theories had been circulating online that 5G mobile phone signals either triggered COVID or helped it to spread. I reassured her the best I could. But later I pulled up outside a mask factory for another visit. There were a dozen or so protesters gathered outside with signs about COVID and 5G. As well as other conspiracy theories. This wasn't a new problem. Disinformation had been around since before I was born. It had even been documented in a tactic in state interference like the likes of Russia since the 1920s. And been documented as a tactic in state interference by the likes of Russia since the 1920s. But the problem sure seemed to have gotten worse recently. But I didn't have much time to dwell on it. By the time I left Wanganui with my nipple that evening, a new COVID outbreak would mean Election Day would be pushed out and reshaped. That's the end of today's instalment of A Different Kind of Power by Jacinda Ardern. So I warned you about the nipple. I warned you about the decency. So where do we go with the nipple? We'll find out. We've got to put the nipple in the box. That's the best way to deal with the nipple. I hope, and I know many of you are still finding joy and enjoyment and or getting to sleep with my readings.